Let's look at the words of Mike Vrabel, a guy who has been in the news a hell of a lot over the past 10 days. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I've studied the words of thousands of criminals so I can show you how people use words to lie, to cheat and manipulate, and also what the truth sounds like too. So let's dig into the words of Mike Vrabel. And this all started when he was pictured with Diana Rossini, both of them married to other people, looking kind of intimate. And the very first thing we heard from Mike Vrabel was on the back of the photos that were published, where he issued this statement. He said, "These photos show a completely innocent interaction, and any suggestion otherwise is laughable. This doesn't deserve any further response." Now, the first thing I got there is a real desire to shut this down. This doesn't deserve any further response. Don't ask me any more questions. I'm not going to answer them. I want to move on from this, trying to control the narrative there. As we'll see, that didn't quite work. But yeah, really keen to shut down questions. And when people have nothing to hide, they're not so worried about shutting down questions. But there's some other words in there. These photos show a completely innocent interaction, not just an innocent interaction. He's persuading us that it's not just innocent, it's completely innocent. He's put that word in there that doesn't need to be there to change the meaning, but it changes the severity, if you like, of what he's saying, which says to me he's in persuasive mode. It's really important for him to persuade us, not just innocent, but completely innocent. He talks about it being an interaction as well, which is an interesting way of describing it. That interactions sound sort of formal, kind of, very standoffish, almost distant, an interaction. So why did he pick that word, interaction, not meeting? He's trying to create that distance there with his language. And any suggestion otherwise is laughable. Laughable is an interesting choice, because any suggestion otherwise is false, would be another thing he could say. Not true would be another thing he could say. But no, he only says it's laughable. Now, lots of people said this was a denial, but it's not a denial of anything. He doesn't deny anything. He just says it's a completely innocent interaction, and any suggestion otherwise is laughable rather than false. However, if he thought the whole thing was going to shut it down, no, because more pictures have come out, and he was forced to talk again earlier this week. And he said in his statement, "As I said the other day, I promised my family, this organisation and this team that I was going to give the best version of me that I can possibly give them." Now, some things here. As I said the other day, this is something I see with deceptive people all the time. It doesn't prove Mike Vrabel's being deceptive, but this is a language pattern that I see in deceptive people, which is the need to point out how consistent they are with "as I said the other day," because liars feel that by pointing out their consistency, they will look more truthful. They're like, "Look, I haven't changed my story." And it's not enough for them just not to change their story and to be consistent. They have to point it out. And he's going to give them the best version of himself. That's in the future. That's I'm going to the store. I'm going to fill my car up with gas. These are things in the future, not that he is the best version of me that he could probably be. Then he says, "In order to do so, I have committed," so that sounds really firm, "I've committed to seeking counselling starting this weekend." Notice he doesn't say attending counselling starting this weekend. He's just going to seek counselling starting this weekend. Again, to use an analogy, if I told you I was buying a car this weekend, I'm actually committed. I'm saying to you, I am buying a car. If I said I'm going to seek a car to buy this weekend, then you'll know that I'm going around showrooms, I'm going around dealers, I'm looking at cars, but I'm not actually committed to buying a car. And he is only committed to seeking counselling starting this weekend. Lots of people as well going, "Why'd you have to do it this weekend?" Because he's pulling out of a draft day with the Patriots to do this. Couldn't he do it another day and keep his work commitments up? But no, and he's only seeking that counselling. And lots of people asked a lot of questions about this, which led to him last night, as I'm recording this, releasing a statement or giving a statement to the press, which we're going to break down here. So let's listen to part one of Mike Vrabel's statement.
Mike will give remarks, and then we'll take 3 or 4.
Appreciate it. Again, just want to reiterate the gratitude that I had the other day that you guys have shown in a personal and private matter. I want to address the news regarding my current situation. I understand that there are questions, but I take accountability for my actions and the actions that caused a distraction to the people that I care most about. My family, this football team, the organization, and our fans. My previous actions don't meet the standard that I hold myself to. They don't. And what I believe is best for the two most important things in my life, my family and this football team, is for us to take the necessary steps to work together and to give them what I told them I'd give them, which is the best version of me. And that's what we're going to do. And that's going to start, that has started, that'll continue this weekend, and it'll continue for however long it takes for me to give them and to complete that promise of giving them the best version of me possible. And that's what's going to happen, and that's what's been happening.
Right, so you remember I said laughable, and I said, that's not true. Well, who's laughing now? It's certainly not him. This is a man under a bit of pressure. You can hear that from the ums and ahs and the restarts, which show he is under stress and choosing his words carefully, and it might be instructive to see when he does and ah. But I said laughable, not the same as not true, and definitely now from what he said, I'm feeling that, there was a lot to what people were saying on the back of these pictures. So he starts by saying, again, I just want to reiterate. So what he's doing once more is that thing of, look how consistent I've been. I'm saying the same thing as I've said before, which is something that people who are being deceptive do to show how consistent they are, because they feel that will give them credibility. He says, I just want to reiterate. Now that word just is often used as a minimizer. Just focus on this. The only reason he's talking now is just to reiterate. I think there's a lot more that he wants to do, a lot more. He wants to say a lot more, or maybe not say a lot more, but he's bringing it all down to this. I just want to reiterate. And then what is he reiterating? He says, the gratitude that I had the other day to that you guys have shown in a personal and private matter. Gratitude for what? I really don't know what is the gratitude that I had the other day that you guys have shown in a personal and private matter. Don't know what he's talking about there. I really don't know what he's talking about there. But there's a little bit more information there, which you see saying it's a personal and private matter. Again, this was laughable. It was a completely innocent thing, and now all of a sudden it's become a personal and private matter. So he wasn't being fully straightforward in that first statement that we looked at. As I said, we could have got if we looked at the words. He says, I want to address the news regarding my current situation. Now, he's not saying I am addressing the news. This is about intention again, and intention versus action. It's not, all right, I want to address the news regarding my current situation. He says, I want to address the news. So that doesn't say that he actually is addressing the news. And you'll notice when you hear the statement, and there's more of it to come, he doesn't mention the situation at all. He really doesn't say what he's done. He doesn't say what he's in trouble for. He doesn't say what the truth of these innocent interactions were at all. He just boils it all down to my current situation. But he calls it a current situation, i.e. something that he is going through right now. He's not on the other side of this at all. He is in the midst of it because he calls it his current situation, and he owns it. He says my current situation, not the current situation. But you'll notice he doesn't mention Diana Rossini in this at all. He doesn't mention the pictures. He doesn't mention their meetings or anything like that. He goes on and says, I understand that there are questions. I take accountability for my actions. Now, I like that part. I take accountability for my actions. He doesn't say what those actions are. He doesn't say exactly what he's taking accountability for, but he does put himself in there. He says, I. It's about now. It's I take accountability. It's not I will take accountability, i.e. sometime in the future. I really like that. He is taking accountability. And the actions that caused a distraction to the people I care most about. Now, this is just a masterpiece in downplaying and softening what has gone on. He talks about my actions, but he doesn't actually say what those actions were. And, that could be as serious as long-term cheating on his wife. But he's boiling that down to my actions. We don't know what he's done because he doesn't say. And these actions caused a distraction to the people that I care most about. Now, hurt Maybe just a distraction. Again, I think he's softening the impact there of what happened. He then says, my family, this football team, the organisation and our fans. That's him talking about the people he cares most about. And there's an order there. He's got a list going on. And when people read out lists or give us lists, very often the first thing they mention is the most important thing to them. The second thing they mention, the next most important thing, and so on. And this is all in order, but it's instructive to know. My family comes number one. For most people, it would. This football team, so his job, his career, again, for a lot of people, that would come after family. Our fans comes second. Our fans is the phrase that he uses there. And he's part of our. When we talk about our something, you are part of that. And he's talking about fans because I think what he wants to do in this statement, as we'll see as he builds, is show the support that he has. It's important for him to get across to us that he has support. Then he says, my previous actions don't meet the standard that I hold myself to. They don't. Now, that might feel like he's really owning it there. However, once more, it's just actions. He's softening the severity. My previous actions don't meet the standard that I hold myself to. Well, if they don't meet the standard you hold yourself to, you're not holding yourself to it. The standard you would like to hold yourself to. So a little bit of image management going on here. Then he says, and what I believe is best for the two most important things in my life, my family and this football team, is for us to take the necessary steps to work together. Said with low confidence, not what is best for the two most important things in my life, but what I believe is best for the two most important things in my life. So that's what he believes, but for him to say not what is best or not what we're going to do suggests to me that there is some doubt from these two most important things in his life, family and football team. If the necessary steps can be taken together, it's only his belief. It's not what's going to happen. So is he worried that his family, his wife are going to leave him on his own, or he's going to lose his job with the football team? Because he's saying his belief is to do these things together with his family and his football team, not that that is what is going to happen. He carries on, and to give them what I told them I'd give them, which is the best version of me, and that's what we're going to do. Once more, future focus, not that is what I am doing. He's not saying right now you're getting the best version of me. It's in the future. That's what we're going to do. Interestingly, he's the only person who can give the best version of himself, but he uses we're going to do. So I think that is about the being joined up with the football team and the family. Really important for him, I think, to be joined up. I think at least one of those things is hanging by a thread, which is why he's talking the way he did. Said he was future focused. That's what we're going to do. And he says, and that is going to start, that has started. And he does this a lot, which is say that this is going to happen. It's in the future. It's like the counselling, it's in the seeking in the future. And then he corrects himself to say it's already happening. Now, when we do that, when we correct ourselves, very often the first thing we say is our instinct, because words are generally quite instinctive when we use them. I understand here he might be picking his words carefully because he's doing a press conference about the most important situation to face him in his life, but it's very hard to pick every single word deliberately, and therefore our autopilot comes on board and just picks those words that are instinctively right for us to use. And he says, and that's going to start, i.e. in the future, this best version of himself will be there. That has started is his correction, because he realizes that he's not saying, this is happening now, but this is happening in the future. And that will continue this weekend. And it will continue for however long it takes for me to give them and to complete the promise of giving them the best version of me possible. So, again, to complete the promise of giving them the best version of me possible. It's not happening right now. It's an admission that he is not being the best version of himself right now. And also the best version of me possible. Interesting concepts that there are versions of us. I think most people would think we are one person. Yeah, maybe work colleagues see a different side from us, from family, parents see a different side from us, from friends and so on. There are different facets to us. But he really doesn't feel that the best version of him possible, all these different roles or characters that he plays, has been present for his family. And then he does it again. He says, and that's what's going to happen, and that's what's been happening. So once again, his instinctive first thing that he says is that's what's going to happen. So that's in the future, and that's what's been happening is a restate to say, oh yeah, actually I'm doing that right now. It's not some dream of something that will happen in the future, a vague commitment to something. It's actually what's happening. And that's a theme we see through his words. seeking counselling, not committing to counselling. I'm not sure how committed he actually is to being this better person. We'll go back to the episode in a moment, but if this breakdown hits home, make sure you're following or subscribe to this podcast, because what I'm doing here isn't just a one-off episode. We are building a skill. And like any talent worth having, it takes repetition. The more you hear these patterns, the more naturally you'll spot them in your actual life. I hear it from listeners so often. Eventually, you can't unhear this stuff. You'll be in a meeting or on a call, and you'll start noticing the subtext earlier than anyone else, which gives you an edge in how you respond. If you aren't ready to commit to training just yet, but you found this episode valuable, do me a quick favour. Leave a rating or share this episode. It's the best way to feed the algorithms and ensure these tools get into the ears of the people who genuinely need them. And if you want to be more careful with how you speak, to talk with more clarity, authority and confidence, then do search for my other podcast. It's available everywhere. Just search for How Words Work. Right, let's get back to the episode. Let's listen to the second half of his press statement.
I'm grateful for Robert and Jonathan for their support. I'm thankful for the coaches and their support. Most especially, I'm thankful for the players. They're the ones that allow us to win games. They're the ones that allow us to coach them. And I appreciate their support. We got a lot of great men in there, and I appreciate each and every one of them. Like I told you before, my priorities are my family and this football team, and in that order. And there's a balance there that I am going to create. And my family needs me this weekend, and that's where I'll be. But I'm confident in the people that we have. I'm confident in the preparation. Thankful for Elliot and his staff that have prepared us for this night, for this weekend. I ask that somehow you can allow those players that we bring onto this football team, allow them the excitement and joy of recognizing a dream and starting a journey. I hope that you can do that. And again, I'm focused on this team moving forward, and out of respect to my family, I won't have any more comments or answers to touch on, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, I think it's admirable that he is fronting up and talking in this way, but there's a lot inside his words that I don't feel are quite so admirable. That section started with saying, I'm grateful for Robert and Jonathan for their support. I'm thankful for the coaches and their support. Support, very important, but is this something that's slightly image management here of saying, look, I've got a lot of support going on here, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm grateful and thankful for this support, but is he just letting us know that lots of people support me, i.e., if you don't support me, are you out of step with other people? Are other people giving me the benefit of the doubt and supporting me here? I want to just make it sure it's known that I have support. He then says, more especially, I'm thankful for the players. They're the ones that allow us to win games. They're the ones that allow us to coach them. So he's very stuttery on the players compared to Robert and Jonathan. And what he thanks them for, they're the ones that allow us to win games. I guess that's true, but it's no deep feeling in there. And allow us to coach them, which is an interesting one. Surely that's just part of the job. You're a football player. You get coached. There's no allowing in there unless there's a little bit of a schism with the players, which there could be, because you'll notice that he talked about Robert and Jonathan straight away. He said, thankful for their support. I'm thankful for the coaches and their support. The first things he mentions around the players are they win games and they allow this coaching. Strange concept. And I appreciate their support is what he said. He doesn't quite say the support of the players. Who's there in that? I appreciate their support. We've got a lot of great men in there, and I appreciate each and every one of them. Are certain players giving him a hard time over this? Is player power coming into play here, that some of the players are not happy with his conduct and what he has done? But certainly Robert and Jonathan, support was mentioned straight away. Players, support much further on down the list. That's a lot of words, though, to show the support that he has. I think it's very important image management for him to say he's got that support. Then he says, like I told you before, here once again, he's saying how consistent he is. My priorities are my family and this football team, and in that order. Just showing what I said is true. When we mentioned a list, the first thing is the most important thing to us. And there's a balance there that I am going to create. Once again, future focused. This balance is not there now. He is going to create that balance in the future. I'm not saying he's lying here. He's actually telling the truth. But if we notice the patterns in his words, it's all the changes that he wants to make instinctively. He doesn't talk about the fact that he's made them. He's talking about the fact that he will make them. But we can all say a lot of big things about the future. It's not necessarily that they have happened. And then he says, and my family needs me this weekend. And that's where I'll be. So this has changed slightly, because in the previous statement we looked at, he was seeking counselling this weekend. And that's why he couldn't do some of the days or a day of the draft at the draft with the Patriots. But now it's just my family needs me this weekend. It could be my family needs me for counselling, but actually the counselling story is gone, and instead it's much better. My family needs me this weekend, so that's where I'll be. I'm interested though that family is a concept, it's a group of people, and then he says that's where I'll be, which is a location. And it's slightly lumpy. It's not my family needs me this weekend, so I'm going to be with them, which is all about the people. It's about location. My family needs me this weekend, and that's where I'll be. Family is not a location. Family, for a start, we don't know what he exactly means by family, but it could be geographically diverse, but that's where he's going to be. Family. But I'm confident in the people that we have. I'm confident in the preparation. I'm thankful for Elliot and his staff that have prepared us for this weekend. And then he says, I ask that somehow you can allow those players that we bring onto this football team, allow them the excitement and joy of recognising a dream and starting a journey. I hope that you can do that. And again, I'm focused on moving this team forward. A little bit of a distraction there, and it's a little bit manipulative. What he's saying here is, if you keep picking on me, if you guys, the press, keep talking about this story, then others will suffer. These guys who have joy, excitement, and a dream, you will be spoiling that joy, excitement, and dream if you keep picking on me and making me the story. So please, go and focus over there on them and stop talking about me. Don't know why he's trying that, because his previous attempts to get people to stop talking about him haven't really been that successful. There's a lot to talk about. But yeah, this bit here was kind of manipulative. Didn't like it. And then he says, and out of respect to my family, I won't have any more comments or answers to touch on, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So out of respect for my family, and we have not heard from him, and it's fair enough, he doesn't have to share, I get that, but we have not heard about his family at all. All been about the football here. But once more, it's an attempt to shut down the conversation. It's an attempt to say, that's it. Out of respect to my family, I won't have any more comments or answers. Don't ask me anymore. Please move on. This is done. It's, it's a bit controlling. It is, I don't care about questions you have. I am not going to answer those questions. I'm not going to give you any more comments and answers to touch on. When you touch on something, you don't deal with it in full, which I think this statement does. It touches on things, but it doesn't deal with things in full. I think it's his intention to say as little as possible in as many words as possible, to look as if he's fronting up. That was about a 3-minute speech that he gave there in terms of content of what he said. I'm none the wiser really about what is going on, apart from the fact he wants to shut the conversation down. But I can read between the lines and see there is a lot going on there, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So in summary from there, and from everything else we've seen from Mike Vrabel, very keen to shut the news down. Very, very keen for it all to go away. I think that togetherness is important. He wanted to show the support he had inside the football club. Interestingly, didn't show support that he had from family there at all. But this feeling of, and I want to do this together. Very future focused. His instinct is to say that things will change, not that things have changed, which interested me a lot. If you wanted a prediction from me based on those words, there's a split imminent in his life, whether that is around his family and his wife or around his job with the New England Patriots. I would predict that there is a split coming, and he's really worried about that from his words. What do you think? I am at Jack NATW everywhere on socials if you want to get in touch, and if you want a lot more like this, breaking down the words that people use, then do look at neveratruerword.com and subscribe to this channel, because it's not just about looking at one press statement and learning how people speak and how how to decode how people speak. You will learn the patterns, the more like episodes like this that you consume. So do subscribe or follow this channel. I'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word. And remember, the truth is always in the words.